Good Sunday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Sunday. I am your meteorologist, Chris Peterson. Let's go ahead and talk about the weather for your Sunday evening going into your future. First off, like we always do, if you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button yet, go ahead and do so. Also, make sure you go and hit the share button. Share with all the people that you know. We're at 598 subscribers, 2 subscribers away from that main goal of 600 subscribers. So go on and do so. It would really help me out and would help out the content here and get some better content out for y'all as well. Also, with all of that out of the way, what are we actually going to talk about tonight? So tonight, we will in fact talk about obviously what's going on currently, also what's going to happen tonight. We also will talk about our weather for this week, for the week of October the 19th going into October the 25th. We'll talk about the cold front that's going to move through as we go through tonight, and kind of actually already passing through the state right now. And then we will talk about just the pattern just for our future, just in general, the tropics as well. And then after that, that's pretty much all that we have to talk about. So let's go on right now and talk about what's going on throughout the entire state of South Carolina. So right now, we do have actually some shower activity moving through. And in terms of if it actually is a thunderstorm, it just says gusty showers, so nothing really in terms of a thunderstorm, but showers going on all the way from Rock Hill to Chester, down towards Newbury, and these showers are indeed producing gusts of up to around 40 miles per hour. Goes from Rock Hill to Fort Mill to KK, Great Falls, Fort Lawn, Richburg, Carowinds. All these areas are receiving gusty winds right now of up to 40 miles per hour, and that is indeed due to the cold front that is passing by right now. Now, what's going on throughout the entire U.S.? Rainfall goes on over here in Michigan, as well as Ohio, West Virginia, as well as Virginia. Florida and North Carolina receiving their own rainfall, as well as up there inside of New York. We also do have some rainfall in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, going into Washington and Oregon. We have some rainfall moving through up there. Cloud cover right now, we do in fact have some cloud cover moving through that goes all the way from like the southern Midlands over into the low country, over into the PD and the Grand Strand areas. And so that will indeed create kind of like just like a boundary of cloud cover in front of the cold front that's kind of getting pushed by the cold front. So you can see the cold front right there. The big amount of clouds that you see, that is not the cold front. The cold front is like those lower clouds that you can see from like Rock Hill over just to the north and west of Columbia and just to the north of Augusta as well. That is the actual cold front. And if we look at our cloud cover for the future, you can kind of see again that line that's like the more skinnier line in the back, that's the cold front, while the cloud cover in front of it is actually just cloud cover. Now, if you want to push this forward, it's going to stay cloudy for a good little bit, but as you get into like tomorrow morning, look at this, nice and clear going into tomorrow morning. So looking like it will be a nice start to our day tomorrow. Current temperatures right now, 68 in Columbia, as well as 68 in Orangeburg, 69 in Somerville, 71 in Georgetown, 72 in Murray's Inlet, as well as 72 in Myrtle Beach, 70 in Florence, and 68 in Hartsville, 68 in Lugoff, and 62 also in Lawrence. We also have around 62 in Greenwood, 69 in Greenville, and 59 in Greenville, as well as Clemson, 60 in Spartanburg, as well as 72 in Charleston, and 71 in Beaufort and Island. Low temperatures for tonight, around 42 in Greenville, 45 in Spartanburg, and even 49 in Columbia, 49 in Orangeburg and Sumter, as well as 52 inside of Moncks Corner, 56 in Charleston, and 57 in Hilton Head Island, 51 in Georgetown, and 53 in Myrtle Beach, 47 in Barnwell, as well as 46 over there near Aiken. Rainfall for tonight, not much. I mean, this was updated at around 5 o'clock, so things might be a little bit different, but 100th of an inch to a 10th of an inch possible for Girard, possible for Sumter, and maybe some other areas as well, like the northern low country, maybe even over there into like Horry County, maybe even into like the western PD areas. but I'm not seeing a whole lot, and I'm definitely not seeing any flooding concerns or anything like that. Now, and speaking of, any sort of thunderstorm activity, any sort of excessive rainfall activity, no excessive rainfall is expected throughout the next 5 days. So we are definitely good. We are definitely good with that. And in terms of severe weather, well, we obviously, let me see if they have updated it yet. Seems like they have, and there is no longer a thunderstorm threat at all. Let me go in and get it pulled up right here. Here's day one. No thunderstorm activity at all. So we're looking good here. And then you might also be asking, what about tomorrow? Well, tomorrow, also looking good. No thunderstorm activity here either. And then as well, for on Tuesday, there is indeed no risk at all for any sort of thunderstorm activity. And we are talking about excessive rainfall. The crazy score is coming out. It's actually still generating a little bit. I don't know. Okay, there it is. It's coming out now, so let me go and talk about the short term first, and then we'll go on and show it real quick. But starting off with the short term, what's going on for tonight? Going to push this forward. Once that cold front gets out of here, high pressure is going to take over. It's going to be nice and dry again, as I said, as we start off tomorrow. So no rainfall activity is expected after we get through tonight. And it's going to be a nice start to tomorrow. Now, as you go even further, all the way into the afternoon hours, it's going to be a nice late end to the day tomorrow as well. So not only is it going to start nice, it's going to end nice as well. Same thing with Tuesday. Tuesday is going to start nice as you get to around 2 p.m., but there seems to be some rainfall activity, some convection that gets going from like the eastern Tennessee areas going to northwestern Georgia, parts of Alabama getting some of that rainfall, and parts of North Carolina. Is that a cold front? It kind of looks like one, but it actually looks like it is actually a bit of a cold front moving through on the 21st, which is Tuesday. So we might have a little secondary cold front trying to move in here after we already have this super cool air that's already here inside of the state. So we might kind of see like a double cold front. Now, does that mean our temperatures will drop even lower? Probably not, but that just technically means is that we're just going to have potentially a longer period of below average temperatures. But you can definitely see where the cold front is as it moves its way over towards the east, towards us again. So that is it for the short-term models. What about the long-term? As we go on and go through tonight, going all the way through like the next 48 hours or so? It looks dry. Even as the cold front passes us again on the 21st, it does not bring much convection at all. So that might just be like a little dry front, bringing some gusty winds, but nothing else there. As you go all the way through the 26th to the 27th, some more rainfall goes through. Not really too concerned about it. The 28th comes along, though. This is definitely a cold front right here. Again, as you go through on like the 28th, the 29th, and it brings in a lot of cool air. Now, once we get to around November the 1st, which is the first day of November, we can't really go any further than that just because it's 300 hours out at this point. But we do, in fact, can look at patterns, and patterns show that we might have just a bunch of cold fronts trying to come through, kind of like after each other. And so I know that's what some people were saying. Some people were saying that potentially, this could be like an active end. Some people believe it's going to be like an active period from now until Halloween for a good amount of the U.S. Now, not just for South Carolina alone, but for a lot of other areas. And so we always kind of get like that back end part to where like the cold front is just moving off the coast over into the Atlantic. That's the part that we always get in. So we're going to see a lot of those cold fronts start to move through. Now, it never really brings us the brunt of the severe weather because most of the severe weather goes over inside like the central U.S., maybe a bit more western into like the deep south, but not too close to us. There are definitely times that we could definitely get that severe weather shot, but it's usually the ingredients have to be very favorable for that to happen. But for now, it looks like that if we do in fact get another cold front after this cold front today, later on Tuesday, most likely it will be a dry one. That is it for our long-term future. So what about the weather for this week? The crazy score is done. Let me go in and talk about this real quick first. As you go into, here's what we look like now. As we go into this week, for the week of October the 19th, going into October the 25th. And it looks like it's going to be a cooler than average week. It looks like it's going to be a cooler than average week. Not really too surprised. Not really too surprised at all. If we go in and check out the GFS itself, as we start off going into this week, you can already see just all of this cool air that's starting to push in all the way through Tuesday. And yes, there is some warm air in spots as well, but you can really just see that cooler air is really starting to take the more dominant side over the warmer air. Now, as we get towards like the end of the week being the 25th, so this is a bit too far. You see it starts to warm up a little bit, actually. So I think by the time we get like into like late this week going into early next week, it can definitely warm up for sure. But another cold blast probably on the way as you get into like the last couple of days of October, though. So that's obviously temperatures. What about precipitation? So we're going to start off over here as well. And it looks like it's going to be a below average week. It looks like it will be a below average week in terms of precipitation. So in terms of our drought, not the best, but luckily it's not going to be warmer than average. Luckily it's not going to be too much warmer than average, and it's going to be cooler than average. So the drought, if it does grow, might not grow much. Probably won't grow much. But below average precipitation, it's going to be another just dry week for the most part. Now, what about the crazy score for tonight? If you have no idea what the crazy score is, the score that we see how crazy the weather is inside of South Carolina for just tonight, we are at a 16. We are at a 16. Obviously, the rainfall that's moving out, it's going out into the Atlantic. Brief showers possible from the northern Midlands to around 11 o'clock as the front passes. Chilly temperatures, clearing and gusty winds as well, but overall the atmosphere is stable as the cold front completes its passage. A high pressure takes over, strong cold advection, meaning just a cooler atmosphere, and it's going to be just cool. So now that that is out of the way, what about the tropics? Tropics, we do have this one area that we have here. This is disturbance 1 in Invest 98L. What does it look like? What does it look like? Well, right now it's just honestly kind of just a mess. Just gonna be honest, it honestly just looks like just a mess right now. If you go in and check out what it actually looks like, honestly, it's trying to organize, but we'll continue to monitor how that occurs. Let me go in and read the discussion and see what it says. So the discussion actually says, showers and thunderstorms have become slightly better organized since yesterday and associated with a tropical wave located just west of the Windward Islands has now made its pass across the Windward Islands over the eastern Caribbean Sea right now. However, surface observations indicate that the disturbance still lacks a closed circulation. The system is moving quickly west 20 to 25 miles per hour, which will likely limit its development over the next day or so. Thereafter, environmental conditions are forecast to become favorable for development as the wave slows down over the central Caribbean Sea, and a tropical depression is likely to form during the middle to latter part of this week. Regardless of development, heavy rainfall and gusty winds are expected to continue for ports of the Windward and Leeward Islands through Monday morning. So we have a 30% chance of this thing forming over the next 48 hours and a 70% chance of this thing forming over the next 7 days. So a lot going on there, but the models right now, at least the hurricane models, are kind of a bit more all over the place than it was. Honestly, it kind of had like that more westward track, but now it might actually try to curve up a little bit, which would not be a great sign, especially for areas like in like Jamaica or Haiti or the Dominican Republic or over towards Cuba or the Bahamas. That's something that they're gonna have to definitely start watching for now. If we did think that it was originally going to take that westward track, wasn't going to really turn much, and that's what most models were saying. But things can change. Things can change, as we know, and there still are a couple of outliers as well. Now, if we go into the GFS as well, GFS kind of has that same thing, taking like that quick early turn out towards the north. And then for the GEPS as well, kind of has like that turn. It actually kind of gets close to like Florida, for example. Maybe might try to bring us some rip current / high surf over towards our coastal area, but still around 240 hours out. That's 10 hours or so, or 10 days or so. So we can't really say too much there either. But the thing is, with this model right here with the GEPS, I'm actually noticing that this one has a couple more models that go more to the west and kind of not in agreement too much with the other ones. Now, it does have models going up to the north. It does have members going up to the north, but a lot of them go up towards the west as well. So that's one thing I am looking for. But that is all for the GEPS, the GEFS. And what about the actual Euro? Euro is the one that we look at, honestly, when we just start looking at what's going on throughout the actual tropical area, like throughout the entire Atlantic. The actual Euro model right now actually has this thing continuing to go out towards the west, but has it kind of just sitting there. This one is completely different from the other one. This one, the Euro actually has it just staying in the actual Caribbean, gaining strength kind of, and then kind of dispersing after that. And I see a lot of pinks as well, which is not the greatest of signs because pink is the strongest you can get to. That's 100 knots right there and greater. So if it sits in that Caribbean Sea and it gains the strength, real question would be where in the world would it go afterwards? So I don't think that we should have our eyes off this. I definitely think that we should be paying attention to it, even if it doesn't do anything to us, which is obviously a great shot of that happening, and the probability of it going towards us right now is pretty low, especially since it's so far out. But I think that honestly we might need to keep a watch on this as well. But I'll continue to see what happens, and obviously we will as well as we just go through the next couple of nights as well, and even into the morning hours as well. We won't really talk about the models too much, but in terms of what's going to happen with each individual model, we'll talk about that at the nighttime. That is all that I have, though, for the forecast here. One more thing that I do need to show. I do want to show how much rainfall we're going to get over the next 7 days real quick as we go through this week. And for the most part, it shows a good amount. Probably around a good 2-3 tenths of an inch of rainfall, all the way up to around an inch is what I'm seeing. So from the upstate, an inch. From the coastal areas, close to an inch. To the Midlands, only 3 tenths. And I see areas in the Western Midlands, 2 tenths to a tenth. So for now, it looks like that the more Western Midlands area will be the area without the majority of the rainfall, while the coastal areas and potentially the upstate gets the majority, which kind of bad news because the Western Midlands is the area that's mostly in that drought right now, maybe then more southwestern going to the very northwestern low country, but definitely the area that needs the rainfall the most definitely is not the coastal areas, and the upstate is inside of a drought, but not the areas that's going to get the majority of the rainfall. So we kind of need that rainfall to shift a little bit more if it was in the upstate, a little bit more to the south and east, and if it's in obviously the Midlands, the southwestern Midland, we need to move a little bit more to the west and away from the coastal areas. But let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off, my Aunt Lula comes in first and says, "Good evening, everyone. I pray that you all had a wonderful day." I did. Thank you so much for asking. Good evening to you as well. Mr. Chris says, good evening, everyone. Hope you all had a great day. I did. Thank you so much for asking as well. Mr. Anthony comes in and says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. My Aunt Lou comes back in and says, today in Georgetown, we had a marvelous day. Glad to hear that. Glad that it was. And then Mr. Chris comes back and says, started off very sunny and turned cloudy but comfortable. Thank you so much for that weather update over there. Please remember to go and hit the like button and the subscribe button. Also share with everyone that you know. This is some good information. He's absolutely correct. We've had 18 people tune in so far. 18. Again, that is 1, 8, 10 plus 8 people tuned in tonight. And we only have, get this, we only have 6 likes. I don't know what's going on there. But if you are a part of that 12, 12, that have not hit the like button yet, go on and do so. It's free. You can change your mind at any time. And it helps me out, helps the channel out, helps us grow. My Nana comes in and says, hey Jay, hello to you. My Aunt Lou comes back in and says, Georgetown was a little warm, but it was pleasant. Thank you so much for that weather update. Trail says, greetings, everyone. Greetings to you. He also says, sunny, cloudy, then rain today, windy. Thank you so much for that weather update where you are. That says, good evening, Joseph. I trust all as well. A bit windy here today, but beautiful nonetheless. Glad to hear that. Good evening to you. And Mr. Chris says, going to be a good night tonight. It will. It will definitely. If you need the rainfall, obviously, hopefully you get the rainfall. If you don't need the rainfall, well, hopefully it stays dry for you. But if you're inside any abnormally dry or drought, you most likely need the rainfall. The only areas that might not need the rainfall is like the Tri-County areas going into like the Western PD and the Grand Strand as well. And then mainly a lot of the coastal areas as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the 4 locations outside of South Carolina. We'll come back to the chat. If you want to go ahead and leave a chat, you can. Still, I will come back to it. But let's go ahead and talk about the 4 locations outside of South Carolina. You might be asking, what in the world am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, as well as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these locations is because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly. And so because their area is not being talked about, I decided, well, let's go on and talk about their areas while we are here. So we start off with San Antonio first because we've been kind of switching it around a little bit. But now we're back at the original. So starting off with San Antonio, you have low temperatures tonight, 64, high temperatures tomorrow at 93, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 70. There is indeed no precipitation, absolutely none, 0 precipitation that is expected at this time. So you are good there. What about excessive rainfall and severe weather? Well, in terms of severe weather, looks like for now, you are also inside of the clear. You're also inside of the clear for any sort of severe weather, but fire weather. You actually did have a chance for some an elevated fire risk today. I guess that explains why it was windy, because if wind also adds to the factor for fire activity to go. But that was today though, so I mean that's gonna end now pretty much. Now what about Raleigh, North Carolina? You have low temperatures tonight at 50, high temperatures tomorrow at 70, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 45. Showers are likely tonight, but after that, you're good. Excessive rainfall for you, absolutely nothing. And for severe weather, you actually are right on that border where that cold front is about to pass through. So once that cold front gets to you, and it has some convection with it, you might potentially have to watch out just for some gusty winds to move through. We're not talking about anything in terms of hail or tornadoes or anything like that. We're not talking about that. We're really just talking about the threat for just some gusty winds to move through. So now that is halfway done. What about Philadelphia? For Philadelphia next, you have low temperatures tonight at 54, high temperatures tomorrow at 65, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 45. There is indeed showers are expected as you go through tonight, and then there is a slight chance of showers as you go into tomorrow. Tomorrow night, though, you look good there. excessive rainfall, you do not have a threat for any sort of excessive rainfall. But for severe weather, a isolated tornado is actually possible. An isolated tornado is possible as you go into tonight. And isolated damaging wind gusts is also possible as well. So you definitely are not in the clear in terms of severe weather yet. But once you get through with it, though, which seems like right now it has not quite reached you yet. It's getting there. It's like passing like the Washington D.C. passing through, in Maryland right now, but it has not gotten to you yet. It has not gotten to you yet. And then, like I said, for excessive rainfall, nothing for you either. Now, what about our final location, that being Duncan, Oklahoma? If you go on and look at it, there is a bit of a mistake. It does indeed say a slight chance of thunderstorms and showers are likely. That's supposed to be none. I can go on and fix that right now. But none. No precipitation is expected as you move through the next 48 hours or so. But low temperatures tonight at 52, high temperatures tomorrow 89, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 51. And in terms of excessive rainfall, I think you actually have a little bit of a chance. It's kind of close, but it's not quite there. On Thursday, isolated flash flooding is just to your north and east. Could it potentially move down to your south and west? Potentially, but you're not in it. You're not in it, so nothing to worry about for you there either. And that is all that I can see right now in terms of the 4 areas. So what's going on throughout the entire U.S.? Weather news-wise, a low-pressure system will move across the Appalachian this evening and into the mid-Atlantic tonight into early Monday. Isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible with occasional damaging winds and a possibility for a brief/weak tornado. Meanwhile, mountain snow will continue through tonight into the northern Rockies as a low pressure moves east across the north central U.S. Lake wind advisories are in effect over inside of South Carolina. That obviously is due to obviously the cold front moving through and just not being safe on the lakes. And then same thing, we have high wind watches and high wind warnings that are out there in the west. That goes from like the Dakotas and Wyoming into Colorado into New Mexico, and then also side of Nevada, Washington, Montana. These areas all have the chance. And then even some red flag warnings up here for Colorado and even New Hampshire. Not New Hampshire, but Vermont. Seems Vermont actually has a chance for some fire weather to get going. We also do have the chance for some frost to go on in Northern California, going into Wisconsin, and then snow going on over there inside of the Northwest. And that is all that I can see here in terms of what's going on for our future. If you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button yet, remember, go on and do so. It's free. You can change your mind at any time. And we are trying to get to that main goal of 600 subscribers. We are just 2 subscribers away. That is it. Just 2. And we will be there to that main goal of 600. I will be back tomorrow morning with your Monday morning forecast update. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. And top fan for the night, by the way, Mr. Chris was at number 1. My Aunt Lulu was at number 2. And then Trail was at number 3. Congratulations to the 3 of y'all for being the top fans for the night tonight. Make sure you hit those 2 buttons before you leave.